So good afternoon, everyone. This is Audrey Russo, President and CEO of the Pittsburgh Technology Council, as well as 40 by 80. That's our wholly owned subsidiary of our nonprofit, which is the Longitude and Latitude of Pittsburgh. So I'm thrilled to have, in such a timely day, have Brian Brickhouse. I'm going to introduce him formally in a moment, but let me just get some of the housekeeping out of the way and some of the appreciation for the sponsor that we've had for all year. I mean, I think it's probably 14 or 15 months now, and that's Huntington Bank. They have been our partners right from the onset. If you don't know them, they are actively engaged in our community. They have been incredible during COVID. They've been incredible before COVID, but they are just actively engaged in making sure that Southwestern Pennsylvania is an amazing place for technology and innovation, companies and their ideas to proliferate. So if you don't know them, get to know them. And if you want to know them, you just need to reach out to anyone here. So we deeply appreciate their belief in us and all the experiments that we've run. So we've been doing this show for 15 months each and every day. Hard to believe. And we have a packed May coming up. And we just get a chance to talk to some of the coolest and smartest people around who they might be in Pittsburgh, but they're changing the world. So they are, employing people in Pittsburgh, maybe, but they're still doing things that just strike out in terms of innovation. And our guest today is definitely representing a company that has a deep presence in Pittsburgh, even though their headquarters is in Cleveland, which I'm not going to make any jokes about Cleveland at all, because, they're in our region and, they're good partners, and our relationship with Eaton has been tremendous, even in Cleveland as well. So we've muted your microphones, and we've tried to make sure that we're not hearing any noise in the background. So I hope I don't have that problem as well. And we have an opportunity for questions. Now, I think Jonathan Kirsting, he's Vice President of Marketing and Media, is on the call. I think he got somehow locked out of Zoom, but he is always here looking at making sure we have opportunities for questions and any kind of comments. This is not about any opportunity to sell your wares. This is an opportunity to just focus on our guest. That is it. So with no further ado, I want to bring to the forefront Brian Brickhouse, who serves as Eaton's president for the Americas region of their electrical sector. So if you've been following us for this past year, and you've been following a lot of things that we care about in terms of climate, in terms of sustainability, you'll know that we have a deep passion in making sure that anything related to electric is part of our agenda at the Tech Council, and that we're trying to do everything that we can to make this part of the world sort of an epicenter of all good things in terms of, electrical. And Eaton is the epitome of that. So I know that today there was an earnings call. I'm thrilled that we have Brian Brickhouse with us today. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Brian, for being with us, but tell us a little bit about your journey, because I think you've been at Eaton for a few years.
Yes, I have. In fact, in July of this year, it'll be 36 years. So I've been with Eaton now for 35 years. My roots actually go back to Westinghouse. I started my career with Westinghouse, the Westinghouse here in Pittsburgh. And then the business that I was part of got acquired by Eaton back in 1994. And I've been with Eaton ever since. And, I've been in the electrical business my whole career. I'm a degreed engineer, but really never spent any time in engineering. But I had the good fortune to spend 3 years living in Europe, running one of our European businesses, and then most recently got to spend 3 years in Asia, running our electrical business in Asia Pacific, and then came back to Pittsburgh for my second tour of duty in 2018, and now I run the Americas, which for us basically is Chile and Argentina up to Canada. And it's a pretty complicated business. It's a very large business. We are actually a public reporting segment, so I can talk a little bit about the numbers. And we had a really good Q1, but it's about a little over a $7 billion business. I've got about 26,000 employees across the region. We have about 1,500 employees in Pennsylvania. Most of those are in the Pittsburgh area.
Right.
Most folks know, our headquarter building is out in Moon, right, kind of by the airport, the
Sure.
Charrington facility, and still have a big factory in Beaver. We've got an engineering center and what we call our Power Systems Experience Center up in Warrendale, where we have a lot of our power systems engineers, and then a number of smaller facilities in the area as well. So yeah, we're pretty rooted in Pittsburgh, and we give our Cleveland folks in headquarters a hard time about that.
So you're based in Pittsburgh?
I am, yes.
You are.
Yep.
So you're based in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I work out of our Moon Township. Really, that's where the electrical business kind of grew out of, when Eaton acquired that Westinghouse business. It's really the kind of the Westinghouse roots here in Pittsburgh that continue today in our Charrington facility.
So let's talk. So how about if we talk a little bit about the earnings report today? What can you share with us in terms of the performance, in terms of what you oversee?
Yeah, I'd say it was surprisingly strong Q1 for our electrical business and the Americas in particular. We saw about 2% organic growth year over year. And if you remember, last year Q1 was mostly pre-COVID. So, to see that kind of strength, and that's on the revenue side, orders were up even more. We were up almost 11% in orders for the quarter. So a lot of strength. And it's really, our business spans residential, light commercial, heavy commercial, institutional, up through industrial, and then in the utility space. And, we have a few really, really strong markets right now. Number one is the residential market. It has been strong since really maybe June of last year when things started reopening. The residential market is just remarkable. And if you're trying to buy a house right now, you know that. But data center has been very, very strong. That's a market that, we're a major player in, and we deal with both the hyperscale vendors as well as markets like multi-tenant data centers. So data center is very strong as well. And then utility. You got a lot of utilities spending on grid modernization. They're doing grid hardening. The advent of renewables is putting a lot of pressure on the utilities to be able to adapt to that. So there's a lot of good spending going on in the utility spaces today as well.
This is an exciting time for you to be there. I mean, in terms of COVID over this last year, which pieces of your own market did you see grow the most outside of residential?
I would say really data center and utility are the two that have grown the strongest other than residential. The industrial market is showing some signs of life. Oil and gas and heavy industrial really, pulled back pretty hard early last year. And those are very long cycle capital projects, mostly in the industrial space. Things like reshoring are helping us a bit there. There are certainly companies investing into the not just the U.S. market, but really into the Americas market overall. So our negotiation activity is up pretty sharply in industrial as well. It's not yet realized in terms of really orders and revenue, but the activity is strong. And
so there's a couple of questions I want to grab. So does Eaton play a role in the infrastructure build out for EVs?
Yes, we do. We call it electric vehicle charging infrastructure, EVCI. And so if you read our earnings announcement, one of the acquisitions we made in the last quarter was a Swiss-based company called Green Motion. Green Motion is a charger and, probably more importantly, charge point operator software manufacturer in Switzerland. And so this really kind of jumpstarts not just our kind of the electrical infrastructure around EVCI, but also charging itself, both AC and DC fast chargers, as well as charge point operator software, which is really one of the keys there, is particularly for public charging.
And so do you think some of the things that are happening in Washington, we're going to see an acceleration in this?
Yeah, part of Biden's bill is, I believe his target is 500,000 chargers, public chargers within the next, I think it's 5 or 8 years,
Mhm,
coming off a base of about 100,000 today. So that's a pretty significant build out. So
mhm.
yeah, that will create some great opportunities for us.
I would think so. Do you drive an electric vehicle?
I do not yet. My grandfather was a mechanic, and I just haven't gotten my head around driving an electric vehicle yet. It's probably going to be the next car I purchase, but I have a feeling he'll be like rolling over in his grave at me.
Uh, I have a dream that I'll get a Lucid one day, but I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime. If you've seen any of those vehicles, I think they
Yeah,
start at $170,000.
yeah, yeah,
But good, you're sort of at the right place at the right time.
right.
And then so let's talk a little bit. Like I said, we're bullish on the electric vehicle industry, not because, not only because of sustainability, but that's certainly a great reason and the aspect, but because it allows us to keep our spending local and it drives local advanced manufacturing as well. So can you dig in a little bit about the EV industry and how it's impacting Eaton at all? And probably more importantly, that whole e-mobility, which includes the security thereof.
Right, right. Yeah, and it's important to remember that Eaton is an industrial. It's really a diversified industrial company. So whereas about 65% of our revenue is in the electrical space, we still have an industrial business which is primarily focused in on aerospace and vehicle. We have a hydraulics business that's being divested at this point. It's being sold probably during Q2 here, but that vehicle business historically, we've been one of the world's largest manufacturers of engine valves. We're the world's largest manufacturer of superchargers. There's a lot of truck transmission and components there along the powertrain. Obviously, all of that goes away in the world of electric vehicles. And so I think roughly 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, we stood up an e-mobility business kind of in parallel to our vehicle business, to really begin to develop and promote the technologies needed for electric vehicles, not just passenger cars, but commercial electric vehicles as well. And so that business is scaling very, very quickly. And again, we're focused mostly on the powertrain and power distribution on electric vehicles. So we're kind of playing it from both ends, if you will,
Right,
on the
right.
vehicle and then the infrastructure to support the charging of the vehicle. So yeah, it's a fairly significant market for us going forward. I think this acquisition of Green Motion positions us really well globally. So now we've got both AC and DC chargers for both the European and what we call the IEC or the CE market, kind of the rest of the world. And we're quickly working on a UL version of the Green Motion product as well to bring into the US market, in addition to the legacy chargers that we've had. But again, really a big part of the Green Motion strategy was around their charge point operator software, the CPO software, and the infrastructure there, which is really evolving as we speak.
So how large of an acquisition was that, and where were they headquartered?
Yeah, it's a small company. They started in I believe 2009. So it's an early stage company at this point, but they have developed a terrific product line. And we had partnered with them, just a commercial arrangement for about the past year, and really decided we were just so impressed by what we saw, we wanted to acquire it.
That's great. And where are they based on?
They're based in Switzerland.
Okay. So they're based in Switzerland. Excellent.
Yep.
So what about, because in your earnings report, you do talk about organic growth. What about non-organic growth? What are there companies that you, any kind of technologies that you're particularly interested in?
Yeah, we're a very acquisitive company, if you haven't noticed that. So in the last quarter, or let me step back and maybe say in the last year in my business, we've made 4 acquisitions. Most recently, back in March, early March or mid-March, we acquired a company called Triplite. And Triplite is in what we call the distributed IT market. So they manufacture everything you would find in a data center white space, as well as what we call edge computing applications. And I don't know, I'm staring at the list. I can't see what companies people work with, but folks might understand what edge computing is, but it's a lot of IT equipment kind of, out, not in a data center. And you need a lot of products, to be able to back up and support that IT equipment. And so Triplite was they're about a $450 million company based in Chicago that provides, UPS products, rack products, connectivity solutions, surge solutions, really primarily for those distributed IT, more for distributed IT applications than really inside of a data center. So again, data center is a big market for us. We continue to look for adjacencies and acquisitions in that space. We acquired a company in the utility space called ISG. They're based out in Colorado. And then we made two other data center acquisitions, PDI in Richmond, Virginia, and a software company called Optimum Path, which makes what's known as data center infrastructure management software. So all, very kind of strategic for us in those kind of some of those high growth markets. And generally, if you see us make an acquisition, it's usually for an adjacent technology. Could be for geographic expansion, but we're really focused in on we're kind of a technology company, and we like to sell on value, and we like to provide benefits to customers, and and it's not just a products business. We have a very kind of deep and wide services organization. Service is a big part of my business, and we have a growing digital offering as well. So Optimum Path is a great example of that, buying a software company.
Well, so, last week we hosted Representative Donna Oberlander to talk about her data center tax incentives. It's really important to us. We explored the types of manufacturing jobs that are actually created by data centers. This is just an important piece of the jigsaw puzzle as we start to, expand and think about why Southwestern Pennsylvania is a great place to build companies. So I'd imagine it's important to you as well.
Yep, absolutely is.
So there might be some questions. Hang on, let me look here to see some questions. So, Ray makes a comment that energy transition, electrification, and digitization are the three large secular trends that Eaton is benefiting from. So that is all COVID too, as well. COVID has really accelerated all of that. And
it really has.
Right?
It really has.
Yeah,
it has.
I bet you've made progress in ways that you never thought you would have made progress within 1 year.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, things like the energy transition have only seemed to accelerate. And then you have a situation happen, like we saw down in Texas with the cold weather event. And so, yeah, I believe this whole trend around electrification and the transition of our energy infrastructure. You're right. I think it has certainly gained momentum, and I think a Biden presidency really pushed that agenda even further, and we'll continue.
No, I think it's great. There's a comment here about Chinese companies are managing the nuclear industry in Argentina under public-private partnership. Is Eaton working there to partner with other governments and companies?
In China in particular, or
I think it's in general.
Yeah. We're very active. In fact, we still do play a pretty good role in the nuclear industry. Some of our partners are like Westinghouse, have that we continue to partner with and sell to and sell with. But just partnerships in general is a big part of our strategy, and whether that's a kind of a formal equity arrangement like a joint venture. We announced 2 joint ventures in China this quarter, very recently, and it's a really good way to kind of leverage a partner where they might have some either time benefits or technology areas that they've developed, and it's a good way to get into a market quickly.
And then also security, right? I mean, our infrastructure and security, we've seen enough, we know enough. What role do you play in that?
Yeah, it's a pretty critical role for us. I mean, we stood up about 4 years ago what we call a COE, or a Center of Excellence, around cybersecurity. And we really did it out of necessity to begin with, because if you think about our products, all of our products really, transform, distribute, and protect electricity. And almost all of them today have some level of intelligence and communications capability. And so, the potential, you hear about it a lot in the utility space about cybersecurity needs, and it really comes down to components and systems like ours. We have to ensure that they are cyber secure. And so, again, we developed a COE to focus just on cybersecurity that all of our product teams leverage. Our cybersecurity lab, I believe, was the first one in the U.S. to be UL certified. And so it's a part of our product development process today. We have to, have the COE really sign off on the security of those products, and we go out and we offer this service. Cybersecurity, or in general, people think about it from an IT perspective, like, I don't want to get a virus on my computer. But it is equally important in the OT portion of an enterprise, their operating technology, those smart products that might be out there in their factories, or in the IT closet, not the server. And that is equally important. And so we've got through our services business, we offer cybersecurity assessments really on that non-IT equipment.
So, you've committed, at least Eaton overall is committed to be carbon neutral by 2030. That's not that far away. So can you talk about the challenges that you'll face along the way, or that you are facing?
Yeah, I would say a couple things. I mean, we have programs underway really kind of across all of our facilities to lower our carbon footprint. We're zero waste to landfill at a number of our facilities, including where I work in Charrington. But we manufacture things, and so one of our biggest challenges is just around greenhouse gas and the amount of power we consume ourselves. And so it's a little bit of we sell solutions to help people manage efficiency and productivity, and so deploying those technologies in our own factories is really important. We've recently announced we've 2 microgrids at 2 of our largest facilities in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has a kind of a unique challenge in that they get hit by hurricanes pretty often. So there's a business continuity aspect to that as well. But we put in 1.5 megawatts of solar panels with battery storage, not just from a business continuity standpoint, but from a resiliency and again, green standpoint of and it's a dramatic greenhouse gas reduction for those 2 facilities. So yeah, it's a big deal, and we feel it just like other companies who are on this journey.
So let's switch gears really quickly and talk about your CEO has been a longtime champion of diversity, inclusion, equity, prosperity. Can you talk about Eaton's values and initiatives as it relates to those topics?
Yeah, I mean, Craig is one of, I don't know how many, I know it's a very small number, unfortunately, of, African-American CEOs in the US today. And, this, our focus on inclusion and diversity predates Craig. And it really, in my 35 years, particularly since, the last 2 CEOs, Sandy Cutler and Craig Arnold, have really made it a focus as part of our core values. I mean, we believe, and firmly believe this, that a diverse workforce performs better. And there's data behind it that shows you the more diverse workforce, the better the results. And so we've been doing, we call it valuing inclusion and diversity training for our employees for 10 years or so. And it's a big focus. I mean, we have internal goals around, improving our diversity, improving our hiring, but, there's diversity is really a number. The harder thing is inclusion.
Right.
And so, we've developed ERGs, or employee resource groups, around whether it's African-American employees, Asian American employees, women in the workforce, Gen X, Gen Y. It's, we have ERGs running in I think probably 10 or 12 different areas today. And it's kind of a part of the way we operate. It's just a core part of our fabric today. So yeah, it's, and I think I was mentioning right before we came on, we had two of our board members retire in the last quarter, and both of them were replaced with diverse board members. So at this point, over 2/3 of our board of directors are either female or diverse.
Wow, that's really high. Good on you. I know that you had been doing that for a long time. So any chance that we can shine the light on the work that you do right here really makes a difference. So what about Pittsburgh? Is the team growing in Pittsburgh? Are there opportunities here?
It is. It really is. I mean, I think in my organization in total right now, I think we're trying to hire about over 100 people. Like I said, we have about 1,500 employees in Pennsylvania. We do engineering here. We do a lot of our kind of corporate structure from my business. So we have a lot of finance folks, HR folks, supply chain individuals. Again, we have a lot of labs in our building. And up in Warrendale, a lot of engineers. We have power systems engineering there, a lot of controls engineering. So, and then in our factories, we are always looking for, in fact, I think we have a number of openings in our Beaver facility right now, just in the management structure there. So, yeah, we're hiring.
That's exciting. Okay, so we'll make sure that people go out to eaton.com. We have Ray Huber, who joins us on the call quite often. He's the CIO. Hey, Ray, I don't know if we can unmute you or not. Yeah. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thanks for the invite. And it's great to have Brian on the business as usual show here.
Is there anything that you think we should have covered that we didn't with this, try to pack as much in as possible?
Just two things. One, we are hiring some IT resources as well. So that's another skill that we're looking for. We got a couple of postings. EatonJobs.com is where we post all of our openings. So that would be a place to go look.
Great.
And then I did want to highlight, and I put it in the chat, that Eaton has been very generous to the Pittsburgh community over the years. I mean, we give literally hundreds of thousands of dollars every year back to all the nonprofits.
Right.
Whether it's the Food Bank, the United Way, veterans, women in need, people with disabilities. I mean, it's a very generous company and believes in giving back, and allows all of its employees to donate time to do volunteer work and get involved in the community. So I think that's it's great to be a part of that.
No, it's great. And so I know that you've been active in the tech community, right? So I think your leadership has mattered in terms of tying things together. There's lots of innovators that are right here, Brian, right at our footsteps here.
Really are. This is a great market for engineering and for technology, and it's we've got some great universities in the area that we hire a lot from. So yeah, this is a great area.
Yeah, we have a pretty good partnership with the University of Pittsburgh. They have a power engineering program that Eaton helps fund, and we actually have people go teach there. And we've hired quite a few people from the University of Pittsburgh from their engineering teams or graduates. So it's a pretty powerful program we have with them.
And then what about companies that might be more at the earliest stage? If they think they might have some solutions or some ways to build strategic partnerships, what might be the best way to encourage that kind of connection?
Yeah, I think, through really it kind of is grassroots through our product lines, our product managers and engineering leaders that, we're always, we're doing product and technology roadmaps. We're investigating new technologies, whether it's, in the areas of software, power electronics. Obviously we do a lot with electricity, so arc interruption and different materials. And we routinely partner with, smaller companies who are, developing adjacencies there that can really help us. So yeah, absolutely.
And then there's just one last question from Bob Chappelle asking, do you participate in Pitt's co-op program? They have an engineering co-op program.
We do.
Yep. IT and engineering and finance and several other areas.
Okay.
Right.
That's great. Well, first of all, thumbs up for a great earnings call this morning, just about an hour before we even did the show. So thank you so much, Brian Brickhouse, for joining us today and sharing your story. We recorded this and we will share it, and people do come in, and if they can't make it today, they use it as an opportunity to listen. And I want to thank Ray Huber. Brian, you should be proud of him. He is a great ambassador
We
for the
are.
region, and does a lot of great things for the community as well as the IT community that he leads. So I want to thank everyone for being here today. Thank you, Eaton, for being a great champion of so many things: diversity, sustainability, managing your footprint, and achieving some really high and noteworthy goals. Really proud to have you here as a global company making your home here, even
Thank you,
though
Audrey.
I know it's Cleveland, okay? I know you're gonna say that to me, okay?
Well, electrical is Pittsburgh, so we just keep saying.
Electrical is Pittsburgh.
That's
That's
right.
it. That is it. So thank you so much. What's on board? Jonathan router went down and now he just joined us.
Got
So
back in.
What is on board for tomorrow?
Just in time, we have PPG stopping by with Mark and Scylla to talk about their sustainability goals for 2025 and how they're on track to meet.
Ah,
each
look at
other's
that.
position. Good stuff.
Look at that. So Brian,
So-
they have 2025 goals.
Wow. Well, we do too. We just don't talk about them yet.
So can't thank you all enough. Really appreciate it. Hope to see you one day really soon in person. And everyone stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks
you
for
again.
having me, Audrey. Thank you.